Meihua Mantis, Taiji Mantis, Taiji Meihua Mantis, Meihua Taiji Mantis. So many names, but is it all the same thing, or are these different styles? So, guys, it has been a while since I made my last video. Apologies for that. I've been pretty busy with things lately. But as you can probably see from my face, I'm recovering from a broken nose at the moment from a BJJ injury, so I'm taking a bit of time off training, hence having a little bit more time to make some content. And one of the videos that I was thinking, one of the topics to address, people are often asking me, is what the hell is the difference between all these different styles? It's so confusing. Taiji Mantis, Meihua Mantis, Taiji Meihua Mantis, Meihua Taiji Mantis. Are these all the same thing, or are they completely different styles? So for today's video, I'm going to break down what exactly all these confusing names mean, and where do they come from, and why are they so damn confusing. And also, a lot of you have been asking me about the Secret Hands Mantis t-shirts. I did a limited edition run of them last year when my friend Alex Petty came to China, and we went to Shandong and filmed a series on 7-star Mantis. And so I've decided to do a short rerun, so these will be available for the next few weeks. If you want to grab yourself a t-shirt, if you missed the chance last time, make sure you get one, because I don't think I'll be doing these again. So let's get into all these confusing Mantis styles. Right back to the beginning, the early days of Mantis. Mantis was just called Mantis. It was just Tanglang Quan. There was no 7-star, 6 harmony or anything. It was Tanglang Quan. Now, around about the mid to late 19th century, the art started to get more widespread. More people were practicing it, and therefore more variances emerged, and schools began to develop. This is around the time that you got Liu He Tanglang, or 6 harmony Mantis, Qixing Tanglang, or 7-star Mantis, which we did the series on last year. And the descendants of Liang Xuexiang decided to name the art that they had learnt from their teacher, which he had just himself called Tanglang Quan, Mantis boxing. They decided to name it Meihua Tanglang Quan, or Plum Blossom Mantis boxing. And so that was to essentially differentiate themselves between, from these other styles, the 7-star and the 6 harmony, and things that were beginning to emerge. And so essentially, what does Meihua mean? Well, Meihua is, as I've just said, plum blossom. And it has a very special connotation in Chinese culture. It's a name, it's a term that you will hear all through Chinese martial arts. Not just Meihua Mantis, but you'll hear it throughout, from north to south, east to west. It's a very common term. And so, this is one misunderstanding as well, is that some people believe that Meihua Mantis must have some connection to the style Meihua Quan or Meihua Zhuang, which was often practiced by the boxers in the Boxer Rebellion. And that style also is centered around Shandong, but there is no connection between Mantis and that style. That style was mainly around the inland mountainous regions of Shandong to the west, closer to the borders of Hebei and Henan, and sort of going more towards central China. And it's a very different cultural sphere there to the coastal areas where Mantis developed in the east of Shandong. Culturally very different. The dialect is different. The people are quite different. The martial arts, of course, are very different. So there is no direct connection. The name Meihua, plum blossom, within the realm of Mantis, refers to a couple of things. One is in the writings of Liang Xuexiang, he wrote Meihua Kai Wu Fu, so the plum blossom opens in 5 petals. So basically what that means is that the body is like a plum blossom, and he'd also referred to that when he was describing the way the body moves, the basic Shenfao body method of Mantis, he'd said that Tanlang Shou, Hanji Bu, Mei Hua Ti, Ho Shi. And so Mei Hua Ti means the plum blossom body. So what that means is that the body is divided into 5 parts. You've got the head, the 2 arms, and the 2 legs. And so these 5 parts, they sort of all move, as in like a plum blossom opening. They move kind of separate but connected. So that gives you this basic sort of body connection and this basic way of moving the 5 parts of the body. So that's one thing. The other explanation is that it's like mei hua luo, plum blossoms falling. So if you imagine that you kick a tree, a plum tree, right, and it's covered in blossoms, you kick it really hard, all of a sudden all these blossoms are going to start falling, right, and they're sort of all going to shower down on you. It's that sort of feeling. Imagine like just being striked constantly, bang, 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 just like these plum blossoms falling all over you, strikes coming from different directions, really, really fast, and it's really hard to block them off. That's the other explanation of plum blossom. It's just this constant, relentless striking that's coming at you so fast you have no chance to block, just like being covered in the the falling blossoms of a tree. So it's quite a poetic way just to basically describe both body movement and fast striking. Now, the kind of deeper connotation of plum blossoms and their relevance to all Chinese martial arts, and in many ways just Chinese culture in general, and kind of the mindset of a lot of Chinese people, is an old poem. And I've had to look this up because I couldn't remember it off the top of my head. But it's basically 暴剑锋从我里出，梅花香自枯寒来. So basically that means that the blade of a precious sword comes from the master's grindstone, whereas the fragrance of plum blossoms come from the bitterest winter. Basically, that means that you have to endure hardship, you have to undergo difficulty in order to see the fruits of your labor, right? The most the most fragrant plum blossoms from the coldest winters. And so that's basically telling us, within the context of martial arts, that if we want to get good at martial arts, we have to train damn hard, right? And in many things in life, if you want to enjoy the bounties of things, you have to put the work in, you have to put the grind in, right? And so that's kind of a little poem just to remind us, not to slack off in our training, to put the work in and to strive to accomplish greater things. And so, yeah, that is Plum Blossom Mantis. And now moving into the next one, Taiji Mantis. Now this one is the one that gets the most confusing, because quite often I get comments on the channel saying, oh, you do Taiji Mantis, is that Mantis mixed with Taiji? Is that the soft style, the internal style of Mantis? And the answer to that is no. There is 2 completely unrelated styles that go by the name Taiji Mantis. The first one, and the one that you're probably most familiar with in the West, is the Mantis style of Zhao Zhuxi, whose name in Cantonese is Chu Chuk Kai. And he was a Meihua Mantis master from Shandong. I think he was from Muping County, if I remember correctly. Anyway, he was from Yantai, from somewhere in Yantai. And he was a practitioner of Meihua Mantis via the Sun Yuanchang lineage, which comes straight down from Liang Shuixiang. That style can still be found in Yantai today, and it still goes by the name Meihua Mantis in Yantai. There are quite a few well-known practitioners such as Zhang Fuzhou, Cheng Shenming, various other people teaching that style in Yantai. But Zhao Zhuxi, he went south during the early 20th century to the mid-20th century. He spent a lot of time teaching in Hong Kong, Macau, and Vietnam. And it's from these places that his style spread to the West. Now, if he was doing Meihua Mantis, why did he call it Taiji Mantis? Well, actually, he was teaching Taiji and Mantis as 2 separate styles. and so he just put them together and said Taiji Mantis. So it's really Taiji Quan, Tanglang Quan, right? Taiji, Tanglang Quan. So that was that. But he didn't make I don't believe he made changes to his Mantis to make it more Taiji-like or anything. I haven't learned his style, but my understanding is it's just he's teaching two separate styles, or was teaching two separate styles. Now the other style, the style that I practice, comes through Song Zede. So he's a second generation student of Liang Shuixiang. He learnt from Zhang Hualong, who was probably the most well-renowned disciple of Liang Shuixiang. And Zhang Hualong had a huge impact on basically setting the standard and making the curriculum for the greater Meihua, Taiji, everything Mantis that we see today. A lot of that's comes from him. So one of his top students was Song Zede. Now Song Zede, he decided to rename his style Taiji Tanglang Quan in order to differentiate what he was doing from other styles of Meihua Mantis. And yes, frankly speaking, there was probably some sort of martial politics behind it. I think he very much had an idea that he was the orthodox inheritor of the style, and so he wanted to separate from others, differentiate himself from others. But that's that. The reason that he renamed it Taiji Mantis had nothing to do with Taiji Quan at all. The reason he renamed it was based on the philosophy of Taiji, the interplay of yin and yang. And so in martial arts, when you're moving around, when you're throwing punches, when you're doing takedowns, when you're responding to what an opponent's doing, your body is always moving between these yin and yang extremities, right? You're throwing one arm forward, the other arm's coming back. The opponent's coming in close, you're moving away and maintaining a distance. Likewise, the opponent's trying to fight you long range, you're moving in and going to short range. If the opponent drops down and strikes you low, you're going to try and come down from the top. Likewise, if the opponent strikes at your head, you're probably going to duck down and try and strike underneath. When you're doing takedowns and grappling, if they push you to the left, you're going to go with it and come and try and sweep them from the right. So you're always changing direction. There's always this interplay between the two extremities. And this is Taiji. And it's not to say that only Taiji Mantis or Taiji Quan have these ideas. It's just that they're so fundamental to how you move in martial arts that Song Zede wanted to reflect that in the name of his style, and so decided to name it Taiji Tanglang Quan. And this is probably a good moment to go into the detail of the actual Mantis hook hand. So what you'll see here, so that other chop, if we really wanted to go into chin na, block, lap up from the back. Let's break this down. Now, this hand is called Heshou. It's one of the fundamental inside parries. The movement's coming from the spine, from the ribs. So the next application from here is Xiu Nu Ying Jian, threading the needle. So in the form, we're doing it
up on the other side of it.
Yeah, exactly. There's always a gap between my elbow and my armpit, right? So I'm threading through. The way that we do it is this threading this way. Now you'll see a lot of other versions where so I can also use this just come in. They don't make it so obviously equally right and left. The right one will be quite small and then the left one will be the big one, and then come into this Mantis hook one here. So there's pretty much no movement going on with my arm, it's just the body presses down. And the power comes from here, bang. So then I go here and you step back. And then, well see that's the thing, because when you do it in the form, I'm coming all the way down to here. If you think if I'm taking you down, I'm going to about here, right? Realistically before you're down.
Yeah, well that's heavy.
So when we're so close, our hands can't do so much movement, right? So we're relying on the body more to move things around. And the fist is just kind of staying where it is. With Mantis, that we're using our body to generate all this power, much like as if we're holding a big spear. In my opinion, this segment is probably the most important thing you will learn in the entire Mantis system. So this is where Taiji Meihua Mantis comes in. So one particularly famous Mantis family, Mantis system is the Haojia, the Hao family Mantis, Haojia Tanglanquan. Now, originally, the Hao family, which also comes via Liang Xuexiang, originally they were generally calling themselves Haojia, just Hao family, Haojiaman, just Hao family system, Hao family style, Hao family boxing. And they were originally doing Mantis as well as some other styles like White Ape, Luohan Chuan. It was a bit of it was a family system that was a bit of a mishmash of different things. But gradually they began to focus more and more on Mantis. And then they said, Hao Lianru, he said Wu Jia Nai, Mei Hua Tang Lang Ye. So he in the opening statement of his written texts, he said, my family is Plum Blossom Mantis. But when it got to the third generation of the Hao family, Hao Bin, he went to learn from Ji Chunting, who was a Taiji Mantis practitioner. And he absorbed a lot of the curriculum of Taiji Mantis, and he began focusing his own teaching more on the quote-unquote standard Mantis curriculum that had come via Taiji Mantis than on some of his original older Hao family methods, such as Tranzhi, Taiji Pi, a lot of these older forms. And so because of that, he gradually started naming his style Taiji Meihua Tanglang Quan. So basically the original Meihua Mantis of his family system with the Taiji Mantis he learned from Ji Chunting, putting those together, and so he came up with this longer name, Taiji Meihua Tanglang Quan. And that name became quite popular. And then up in the far northeast, in places like Dalian and Harbin, where he spent quite a lot of time teaching, some people, just to make things confusing, started referring to his art as Meihua Taiji Tanglang Quan. But it's really exactly the same thing. And also, just to kind of confuse things a little bit, some of the Taiji Mantis people in the northeast, particularly those that were from via Ji Chunting, I guess they just liked the name Taiji Meihua Mantis, and so they started using that as well. It's longer, it sounds cooler, it encompasses two different philosophies, and so, you've got this kind of weird mishmash where some people are calling themselves, by different names, but essentially they're doing the same thing. So, to wrap all this up, are they different styles? Not really. They're different flavors of essentially the same style. Because if you look at 7-star Mantis, there's a lot of variation, right? The 7-star Mantis you'll find in Hong Kong, in Malaysia, in Shandong, in the northeast. 7-star Mantis has a lot of variation, but they still always call themselves 7-star Mantis, right? And so with us, we have these different names, but we still are all part of the greater Meihua line. We're all descendants of Liang Xuexiang. It really just comes down to personal preference and the particular flavor as to whether it's being called Meihua Mantis, Taiji Meihua Mantis, Meihua Taiji Mantis, or, even if they're adding an extra thing onto their name. For example, in Muping County, there is and I learned a small amount of this a few years ago, it's a very good system, Taiji Meihua Shuaishou Tanglang Quan. So Taiji, Plum Blossom, Throwing Hands, Mantis. So there are these other offshoots as well. Essentially, it comes down to a master's particular flavor, right? How much twisting and coiling do they have? How much sort of throwing hands, soft, whippy movements are they using? Are they focusing more on very tight, closed, fast striking? Are they combining elements of these? So ultimately, yes, the short answer is it's kind of the same thing. Martial arts are really all the same thing. We have 2 arms, 2 legs. The difference is in the personal preference of how you decide to use your body, what strategies and methods you focus on more in your own training. And so I wouldn't get too caught up in the differences. I would focus more on finding a good teacher who's able to explain and demonstrate the principles. And so I hope that kind of clears things up. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.